Hello everybody. So I just wanted to do another video sort of all about conspiracy theories and my attitudes towards conspiracy theories and how they've changed over the years. So I grew up really entertaining quite a lot of conspiracy rhetoric. I think the main reason why I was entertaining it at all is because, well, it's entertaining. You know, I saw programs on or Channel 4 on the BBC, sort of about the Illuminati and all this sort of thing, and saw the Danny Wallace documentary interviewing David Icke. You know, I found it all very interesting at the time, and you know, all the secret plans and plots going on in government. Or what about Area 51, and there might be UFOs and what have you, and you know, and Kennedy, what happened there really? Was he assassinated by the government or some faction within the CIA or what have you, or was 9/11 an inside job? You know, but I mean, really now I think, particularly seeing the attitudes of sort of Trumpist supporters and these QAnon types, and their attitudes towards sort of what's happening in Ukraine at the moment, and this bizarre support for Putin, you know, this like bizarre sort of phenomenon of Putin sympathising, like one-time like leftist possibly types who've drifted to the right and formed the alt-right, and sort of, you know, got on the QAnon bandwagon, and like quite a lot of this Putin sympathy I've seen sort of on social media and like from people I'm actually friends with on Facebook even sometimes. You know, like what they're really doing, they are conspiracy people. You know, they are these like, you know, hardline sort of David Icke supporting type people. I'm gonna get like David Icke obviously coming out and sort of suggesting possibly that certain Jewish groups are running the world, and this sort of thing. Like, oh right, we're back with the protocols of the Elders of Zion and all that sort of nonsense, really. And it is nonsense. I have no time for it anymore. None of it. None of it at all. I can't stand it now. And like, where's the Putin sympathy come from? Like, with, you know, among these sorts of people with just a hint of anti-Semitism creeping beneath everything that they sort of talk about. Could it be because, like, Zelensky's a Jew, and therefore you're not going to support Ukraine? And then they'd be the first people to turn around and say, oh, the Azov battalion has a taint of anti-Semitism to it. Like, wow, okay. Like, there's a right-wing paramilitary group that they decided to incorporate, probably for pretty sensible reasons, into the Ukrainian military to, probably pacify them, ultimately, and, you know, integrate them rather than have just an unaffiliated paramilitary organisation roaming around Ukraine. I mean, that sort of, it makes reasonable political sense, I think, on that level. But yeah, I mean, I met these people when I was taking ayahuasca in Peru, and I think they seemed like pretty nice guys, but they were like total conspiracy people. And then after I left there, he messaged me and said, do you want to come hang out in my house, because he lived quite near me at the time. And we started discussing, obviously, conspiracies, you know, and all this sort of thing. And the subject of the Holocaust came up, and he was like, oh, the Holo hoax. I was like, oh, I see, you're a Holocaust denier. Alright, well, like, if you're going to say, like, the Holocaust has been faked, and the moon landing's been faked, and well, everything's fake, isn't it? And all the Earth's flat, and it's all a projection, really, and we're being ruled by interdimensional alien beings who have some sort of malicious intent for us, but that sort of malice manifests as giving people in the West relatively comfortable lives, and then people in Eritrea terrible lives, or people in Darfur terrible lives, yet people in modern day Ethiopia not necessarily such bad lives. So, seems a bit arbitrary, does it not? What is the plan here? And like, in spite of the projection, or like in spite of the fact that, like, say it's a fiction and say it's all been made up and it's just been fed into our brains, it still seems to operate by fairly predictable rules. That's the thing, and it still seems to operate via like geopolitical forces and economic forces, and ultimately physical, chemical, and biological forces. So its basis, its science, well, the scientific elements of its basis seem to be to some extent predictable. Not that we understand everything about how the world works, of course, but they've crafted some sort of illusion, let's say, that operates within defined boundaries and operates according to ultimately the laws of physics, I suppose, and physical chemistry, and thence to biology and so on, and thence to economics and so on. So it's totally crazy, and like this thing like, oh, the world is flat, right? Because I know they're invoking something like the holographic principle, whereby information can be encoded on the event horizon of a black hole or something, and well, basically that, I think, and hence it's a 2D hologram. So, would it matter if it was one? Would we still not be free agents within it to some extent? Granted, like, we're not free in an absolute sense. I'm not free to go floating up off this sofa right now of my own will, like when a sort of, monk or something, or a Jedi, or like Yoda, say. But yeah, it still operates within deterministic boundaries, And as for like all the governments of the world, there meet some nefarious secret plot behind everything. Like, the really scary thing about the world, the really, really scary thing about the world is not nefariousness and maliciousness, I don't think, and corruption. I think it's more like incompetence. The idea that leaders can be incompetent, that frightens me a lot. And, you get like the likes of Putin arrogantly and hubristically, very much, I think, overextending himself in Ukraine, and I don't think he'll ever be able to take it. And on that level, I think I agree very much with that chief of MI6, or whoever it was who made that claim. Incompetence is a scary thing, more so, I think, than deviousness and corruption, even though those are scary things also. And of course, like, corruption exists. We do know that. We do understand that. And I would never say that, no government in the world is corrupt and they're all perfectly good. I'm never gonna like stand behind and not be a critic of government. But I mean, no, it's just like this conspiracy silliness is where it's gone, where it's like choosing to plant its ideological flag in the totally wrong places, and you get like David Icke rhetoric and smacking of Protocols of the Elders of Zion, and God, like, yeah, when it comes to like that sort of stuff, I just can't listen to it anymore at all. I'm done with it. And it's like, it's always, and you get these times like, mate, it's the Bilderbergs running the world, what, some shabby hotel on the outskirts of Brussels that's hired by a former aristocrat and a bunch of his mates for a meeting once, however, like every year or whatever it is, and a bunch of old aristocratic families who, probably don't have a pot to piss in, because none of them do anymore, and they're like frantically seeking out investment opportunities or whatever to invest their remaining money in so they don't slide into poverty. Okay, whatever, fine. But none of them would ever turn around to you and say, like, mate, the people who run the world, the world, they meet every now and then at a place called Davos. It's a ski resort in Switzerland. It's like, Oh, what, the World Economic Forum? Okay, yeah, like, yeah, well, I saw that on the news, man, so whatever. It's like, oh, you can't trust mainstream media? Like, I can't trust the BBC. Okay. Like, what is the war in Ukraine, like a total fiction or something? Like, or is COVID a fiction? And it's like, well, okay, well, in spite of it being a fiction or theatre or what have you, like, a lot of weird shit was going on at the time. Like, a lot of people knew people who had COVID, so, like, I believe people had COVID. Alright, so, stop with your nonsense. Like, really, like, and then, like, all scientists and experts, and, like, but then there's elements of it, like the Wuhan lab leak theory. Like, yeah, there was being taken a bit seriously by scientists at the time. It's like, well, there's a pretty good reasons for thinking maybe, but maybe only, I think. Oh, should I not keep an open mind? To some extent, I think I'll always have an open mind. But, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna, like, keep that attitude, like, just keep it sort of arm's length, but maybe just... There's levels to it, like the Kennedy assassination thing, like, that's one of the more respectable conspiracy theories. But then there's just stuff that goes way off into the wilderness, you know, and obviously, like, governments have done nefarious things, of course, like the use of Agent Orange in Vietnam and things like that, or like the Gulf of Tonkin incident, or something, you know, and that's the US government, and they've been up to some shady shit in the past. Of course they have. So on a level, actually, it's very important, like, to have this sort of stuff. But yeah, there is, I'm sorry to say, also an effect of falling too far down the rabbit hole with it, and falling, you know, going way too deep and going into dangerous territory and saying stupid things, ultimately. Oh, I don't know where I stand on it. Well, maybe there, but... Oh, David Icke was the first person to talk about Savile, that's right. And, was it Epstein as well? Or was it, like, yeah... Well, did he talk about Epstein as well? Or was that Alex Jones or someone? Yeah. Yeah, they were very well ahead of the curve on that sort of whole Epstein and Savile and Prince Andrew malarkey. I suppose not everyone's not right all the time, but, like, don't fucking talk about this Jewish shit. It makes the whole thing makes the whole thing not respectable anymore, and crazy, you know. And when you're talking about, like, I'm sorry, interdimensional reptiles, please give me a break. Can I believe that? I can't even believe in that figuratively, I don't think. And if you want me to take some things literally and some things figuratively, but, you know, and there's a priestly caste who've read all the books that David Icke's written. So it's like, well, you're almost starting a cult. And, no, it's very important that these people are allowed to exist. That, yeah, conspiracy rhetoric is allowed to exist. And for that matter, that far-right rhetoric is allowed to exist. And that we don't do things like ban books, and that we don't do things like, you know, silence people and censor freedom of expression, and that, in a sense, like, the right to exist of organisations like the KKK is quite important for a functioning democracy. So yeah, there is a lot of nuance to it, but I just like it's almost like what's made me angry is the support for Putin and the Putin sympathy. just to bring this back to what I was originally saying, because, like, are you just being a contrarian for the sake of being a contrarian? Is that it? Or like you're saying, oh no, actually no, it's not like, oh Zelensky's always like a NATO puppet or something. Like, oh no, it's Putin. That's where freedom really is, and that's where like the good life is really to be had in Putin's Russia. So, you're silly. You're a silly person. That's like, oh, it's Putin, Xi Jinping, and you know, ooh, Xi Jinping's China's like, oh, that's the real paradise. It's like, okay. Like, oh, the re-education camps and so on. Wonderful, you know. Too much of it is too silly. That's the bottom line, I think, and I'm going to avoid it like the plague from now on. Well, no, I'm going to avoid it from now on, but oh, should I like close my mind to a lot of the stuff? Like, I wouldn't entertain it anyway. Like, did the moon landings not happen? Like, you might as well go to the moon if you're gonna. Never mind. Thank you everyone for watching. I think I've made my point-ish. You know, arm's length, but maybe open mind still. Thank you everyone for watching. Bye bye, love you lots.